let's dive on in. I want to first of all thank everyone for tuning back into another episode of Unscripted Exchanges. We have a very fun conversation lined up tonight. We have another wonderful guest on, and I will do my best to do a nice long introduction, and then hopefully she can correct me if I said anything incorrect or add anything. So I want to introduce someone that is doing all sorts of things. She's a registered dietitian. She's a social media influencer. She's a very active person. She's a dog mom. She does it all. Her name is Angela Funk. So welcome, Angela.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for having me. That was a great introduction.
Hayden, kudos, man.
I was working on that all day.
He's been in the mirror.
I was writing that
He
down.
sent me 4 of them today. He goes, "That was bad. That was bad." It was pretty funny.
Hopefully, I did you a little bit of justice. Have you done a podcast before?
No, I've done some like Instagram lives with other dietitians before, but I've never done a podcast. So like I really I'm just new to this.
Well, you
So
seem
if I
very
mess up, I'm sorry.
you seem very poised, like you've done this 100 times or so. So I think we're going to be in good hands. It's going to be fun.
Okay. I hope so.
So I know you and I have connected before we actually started getting into this recording tonight, but we wanted to focus primarily on health and wellness because that's obviously you're a subject matter expert, and I'm starting to learn more and more about that space. So I have a million questions that I'd love to ask you. Now, we're not going to get into all those questions because we could be talking for hours on end, but I definitely want to get into that. But before we get into that, tell us maybe a little bit more about yourself. What are some of your hobbies? That way people can know you, Angela, as the person versus, who Angela is with her professional career.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, I mean, obviously, I'm a dietitian in my career, but outside of work, in my free time, I really enjoy being outside. Exercising to me isn't like exercise. I actually enjoy taking my time out of the day to exercise, whether it's going to the gym or walking my dog. I enjoy cooking, which is to no surprise, but I really do enjoy that. And that's kind of what shaped my career anyway, because I come from a big Italian family. So I enjoyed cooking even before I was a dietitian because I grew up watching my mom do it.
Right.
So I love to cook and be outside. Those are a few of my hobbies. I have one older sister who I'm super close with. And we have a really great relationship. And my fiance and I just recently moved. And the biggest thing for me was like, I need to be near my sister.
I love that. So you're really close.
Yeah, we are really close. And I
Okay.
only live 10 minutes from her. And I'm like, thank God. Like, I don't want to be far.
I love it.
Yeah. And I'm getting married in November. So I'm
Congratulations.
excited about that.
Awesome.
Thank you. So excited. Excited for that big year and all the things ahead. So that's a little bit about me. My dog's name is Bruce. I can't forget that. He's the most important person
Well,
in the house.
since you're mentioning Bruce, what kind of dog is Bruce?
He's an Aussie Doodle.
Oh.
No, he's not. Okay.
Does he have his own Instagram page? He needs to.
He doesn't, because here's the thing. I already have my own Instagram and my Fueled with Ange Instagram. I'm like, I can't have a third one.
Yeah, but I'm like seriously like, well, I gotta stop. I'm like, I saw an Aussie Doodle I was down in Phoenix for a bachelor party for one of my best friends is actually getting married in July. So I was down there a couple weeks ago, and I'm a huge doodle fan. My mom has 3 doodles. Two of my friends have doodles. Like I love them. And golden doodles, one labradoodle and then 2 golden doodles. Well, anyways, and a few golden doodles. I was walking and I saw this dog that had the doodle, like it had that look, but it was gray and white and brown, and that it had that Australian Shepherd look, right? That Aussie, but
Yeah.
I was like, I stopped the person and they're probably like, who's this creep? I'm like, what kind of dog is that? And they're like, it's an Aussie Doodle. I'm like, that's the next dog I'm getting. I was so
Yeah.
in love.
You can tell by the eyes. Like, they have really cool eyes.
Oh, you're gonna have to send us pictures just so you know.
I will. Oh, and I always show people pictures.
I'm seriously like you hit a nerve with me because I had never even seen one and I could have assumed that that was a real thing because I love Australian Shepherds, but I just said like I'm like my two favorite dogs, and meanwhile I've
Yes.
got two miniature dachshunds at home that like just I love them, but they drive me nuts. So that was perfect. But anyways, I digress. I wanted to jump in on one thing you said that I just absolutely loved was you mentioned that you like to exercise, but you enjoy it, right? So you like to do a lot of outdoor work, and I think that's like kind of the perfect recipe for getting exercise and getting active, right? Is if you go out there with a positive attitude, enjoy it, whether it's walking your dog or going for a jog or going to the gym. Like if you make it enjoyable for yourself and just get active, you can do so many different things.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like some people, especially clients that I see, some people think of their exercise as a burden and then they're like not excited to do it. And if you're not eager to or like motivated to go work out, you're not going to want to be there and it's not going to end well. And I've personally been through that where I forced myself too much in the gym to where it was not enjoyable to me. And over the years, I've learned that, you know, a little bit goes a long way. Even if I am tired one day and I'm like, I'm not going to hit the gym, well, I might go out and walk my dog for 30 minutes. At least I got movement. And that's what matters to me. And that's what I try to tell people. Like, you don't want to over push yourself to where you're not going to enjoy it. You're not like punishing your body. You should be, giving your body this exercise. I think
Right,
that's
rewarding your body, right? You're
yes,
generating the right flow, the right blood flow, the right chemical, release in your brain. And I love that you said that. You're practicing sustainability in exercise, right? Doing it over a long period of time versus, I'm going to go crazy for 3 months and burn myself out, which a lot of people do. Right? They burn themselves out on it because they're like, I can't keep this up forever, and they just stop. They're just so burnt out. And I just love that you mentioned that because that's so well rounded of a thing to, and you said it so like this is my hobby, but this is like something that's a big part of my life.
exactly. Exactly.
I think another thing that I would add on to that, and I love your message, by the way, is I preach being consistently good is better than infrequently great. And there's a few different ways to say that as well. So, like you said, even if you're not in the mood to get out there and work out, like even just getting up, taking a walk with your dog, or even just walking by yourself, like that's, at least doing something, you're moving your body, and that's beneficial to your overall health versus, oh, I'm just going to completely skip, working out and even getting out and moving around. So just wanted to re-echo that statement.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's kind of the mentality that I hope more people have when it comes to fitness and nutrition. You can burn yourself out in both aspects. And, as a dietitian, I try to preach like small changes over like jumping in too quickly because then you do burn yourself out.
Totally. Yeah.
And that's super important. So I think we all agree on that. But that's really important to do.
So did you always want to be a dietitian, or like what made you get into this field?
I did not always want to. When I went into college, I was in biology because I thought I was going to go to med school. I
Mm,
knew I wanted to do something in healthcare. And then I quickly realized that the classes that I was doing, I just didn't really enjoy them. I was like, I don't think med school will be for me. I should stop now and switch into something else. I was like, what else can I do to help people that I'm actually going to enjoy like doing? And so I went to the University of Dayton. Obviously, you know
Go
that, Hayden, and
Flyers.
go Flyers.
Woohoo.
And after my freshman year, that's when I discovered there was a bachelor's of science in dietetics. So I was like, oh, this is cool. And so I transferred into that, and those classes were like nutritional science. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much better than just biology.
Totally. And I'm sure you didn't
Yeah.
want to pay the extra $200,000 or so to go to med school, right? I'm sure it's really expensive and a few more years too.
Yes. Yes. I quickly realized that.
But that's neat. But it's like you found sounds like you mixed your passion for food with a passion that you could like carry on the rest of your life, right? Because I love that you said you're from an Italian family, so you like already loved to cook and loved to be around good tasting foods and good tasting dishes. So I guess a question on that note is because I'm really curious. Is like because Italian food, from what I know about it, I'm not Italian, but I mean I just think of like spaghetti, like hoagies. I think of fettuccine Alfredo. I think of that sort of stuff. How have you found a way, or like, what do you suggest to people that do love Italian food and heavy carbohydrates and stuff like that? Like, what is your, I guess, advice for people to kind of to incorporate those into their diet, like carbohydrates and like heavy meals like that, without to overdoing it? Because I feel like when I've done it, and we've all done it, where we have like heavy, we eat pasta.
Like, are you asking, is it good to eat a lot of carbs versus when should you
kind of
keep an eye on that?
Kind of. I was kind of asking. I don't know where I was going with that.
I'm trying to dissect your question as well. I'm trying to help Angela.
She looked like she was getting it. Were you getting it?
What is my feelings about pasta?
Yes.
What are my feelings?
She picked it up. That was perfect.
All foods fit in my thoughts. That is what I preach. All foods fit. Pasta is not bad for you. No food is bad for you, but there's a good approach to it. And there's a couple things. First, there's multiple kinds of pastas out there that are good. So like whole wheat pasta, there's protein pastas, chickpea pastas. Some people, even my Italian family over the years, which they would have never done back in the day, but over the years, they've started to do like zucchini noodles and butternuts, like squash noodles, and which my family would have never done that if my grandparents were still alive.
Right.
They're probably rolling over like, oh my God, zucchini noodles. But we try to incorporate that as a family sometimes, like not always doing the heavy pastas. And then sometimes we'll do zucchini and then we just like rotate. But the biggest thing is when you're eating heavy carbs like that is you need to pair protein. You need to have a lean protein that will balance the total macronutrient of the meal. And then obviously vegetables right with it. But reason being is a lot of heavy carbs really spike your blood sugar, whether you're diabetic or not. People that aren't diabetic don't really think about their blood sugar, but in a sense, I mean, it does it to everybody. And when you eat lean protein, it helps balance it out a little bit. So that's kind of what I preach to people is, trying to balance that. And by lean protein, meaning like salmon or any kind of fish or like lean chicken breast, and then lean like turkey.
Okay. I love turkey burger, so I'm thinking like I could do like a zucchini pasta with some turkey burger. Like instead of like ground beef, we could do turkey burger as a replacement. Yeah.
Yes. Now, doesn't go to say that beef's bad for you either. Like, if you really, some people just don't like turkey. If you like beef, I think it's worth it to pay a little more to get a leaner cut.
Okay.
I usually tell people only like heavy beef like once a week, maybe just a couple times a month, does contribute to cholesterol and things like that. So we want to be careful with that.
Literally just
kind of nerdy.
I just love that you went down that rabbit hole because I honestly, you picked up my question. I was like trying to form the question in my head. Literally, I was just thinking like, I love to eat pasta, but like how
I was trying to figure out what the hell you were trying to spit out.
I could see it in her eyes. I'm pointing at your screen. I'm not pointing.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, I've heard this question before. Like he's asking how much pasta he can eat. I'm gonna tell him. So that's cool. There's like a bunch of different, like I go to like the Findlay Market and like probably have a field day with some different like pastas or replacements and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think that's great that I think more people these days are trying to explore different food items, which kind of is a little segue to me explaining like, over the years, more products have been coming out. So I think a lot of people are, again, getting creative with trying different things like chickpea pasta and veggie burgers and things that our parents never really did.
Right.
They just stuck to the basics. I think there's more out there, which is really cool. And I try to help some of my clients and patients find these alternatives.
I'm just amazed by all the knowledge she's already throwing out a couple minutes into the show.
I know. You're seriously crushing it right now.
I work with diabetics at TriHealth too. So that's why that's just a big topic of mine.
Oh, I love it. I actually had a follow-up. Unless you have another question. I had one.
I got millions, but go ahead.
I had a follow-up. Okay, because you mentioned lean proteins, right? And this is something that I did about, I guess like about a month and a half ago. I did a 30 days of meal replacements with protein shakes, and they were vegan protein shakes. So most of them were like they were pea based, like pea protein. And my question, I guess, to you is, what are your opinion? What's your opinion, like professional opinion, on meal replacements with protein shakes? Right? Is that because I don't think that's a sustainable. Like I did it for 30 days as part of a program, but I couldn't do it all the time. And then B, are plant based protein supplements, are they as good as like supplements like whey protein? Because I know whey isn't plant based.
I don't really like meal replacements, or I guess I don't really like that word. I'd rather, if people want to do protein shakes, I think it's great. And I have a lot of clients who do because they need the extra protein, but I prefer that they do them for snacks, and get their whole foods for meals.
Okay.
Um, at the end of the day, like you're truly not going to get everything you need from a protein shake. So like if you're doing a protein shake for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're missing a lot of essential nutrients unless you threw fruit, veggies, and stuff in there.
Right.
But it just to give you a picture, okay, say you do a protein shake and it has veggies and fruit, you get all your nutrients in it, or you could eat a piece of chicken, veggies, and fruit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like some people think the shakes are healthier, but really, I feel like I'm saying this bad. Like I would rather eat my food than drink my food. That's what I tell my
Right.
clients.
Right.
Like I have a lot of people who love to like juice their fruits and vegetables, and they always ask me, "Isn't that good for you?" Sure, but like you can eat your fruit.
Right. You can just
Like, isn't it good? Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, Angela. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, don't you want to be like using your jaw too to break down the food? Like, that's good from like a facial feature too. Like, you want to make sure you're using those muscles, right?
That is true.
Yeah.
That is very true. Yeah, and I just think a lot of people think that drinks equate, and that's the diet culture. No offense that you did this for 30 days. I'm just saying.
Well, I didn't. I didn't just. I did.
He's an idiot.
No, so I actually did exactly what. So it was 30 days of healthy living. So it was protein shakes twice a day, but then you had like green apples. You had.
Oh, you made it sound like that's all you were
No,
drinking.
no.
though.
Maybe I miscommunicated.
Oh, good. I'm glad you didn't do shakes.
No, I would not. I would not have been able to do that. Like if it was only.
Like, I wouldn't make it.
No, so it was like fruits and vegetables, and it was mostly just. But like instead of having a big breakfast or something, you'd have a protein shake. So I would do like bananas, strawberries with my protein. So I like for me it was more of a smoothie. I mean it was a protein smoothie is what it was, and I threw my peanut butter in there and stuff.
Yeah, and that's like great. Like those aren't bad to do, but again, like some people think they should replace all their meals with it, and I'd rather eat my food than do that. And it doesn't make it any healthier if it's a shake or if you're eating it.
Right.
It depends on what the macronutrient makeup is and the calories.
What about people skipping meals? I hear a lot of people think that's good to do. What are your thoughts on that?
Like skipping meaning like the intermittent fasting crew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love that either. So if you're thinking, I'll just use intermittent fasting as an example. People are, meal timing. People aren't eating till like, say they don't eat till noon and then they close their window at like 7 p.m.
Sure.
Essentially you're skipping breakfast and like a morning snack and you're creating a smaller window to eat. Scientifically, that's not doing the timing and the skipping of meals isn't doing anything to benefit you based on the timing. What it's doing is it's a smaller eating window. So these people are essentially eating less calories and that's why they're losing weight.
Oh.
Like they think it's the time, and it's fine. I'm not trying to, knock these people, but those people that do it think it's the timing that's doing it, but really it's the
illusion. It's the illusion. It's like, okay, I can only eat in between these times. So you just don't have that much time to eat food. Like you're like, okay, it's 7:00. I can't have any more food. So you're saying it's literally just like the fact that you don't have as much time to eat food. It's not necessarily that 12 hours in between. It's just the fact that you just weren't able to eat as many calories.
Exactly. And I would rather see people, if we need to knock your calories to help you lose weight, I would rather you cut those calories, but we spread it throughout the day so that you can function and have the energy instead of putting it into a window where okay, you're so tired up until noon until you eat, you know.
Right.
Makes sense.
So you subscribe to the, because you hear these all over, right? I've heard from, on one hand, the, 6, 8, whatever, people to go 6 small meals a day versus 3 big meals. So you subscribe to the kind of like whole healthy foods, and like for people that are going, well, if I don't snack, I'll lose weight. You're saying, what's your opinion on that? Like, you're saying snacking's okay if as long as it's a healthy food. Like, how do you, what's your
I I teach people to do 6 smaller meals a day, and I find that that works really well.
okay?
Um, you don't overindulge on breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You just have simple meals there, and then you can sneak some snacks in. 5 to 6 small meals, I think, is best every couple of hours.
Okay.
Um, and it really depends on the client and the person too, depending on their work schedule. Um, I've worked with some night shift nurses. I've worked with people that just work weird hours. And so it kind of depends on, you need to do what you can adhere to.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
If 6 small meals doesn't work for a client because of their work schedule and their lifestyle, I won't force them to do it. You only can stick to something that's going to work for your lifestyle.
Right.
Um, but yes, I prefer 6 small meals over 3 large ones. I think that works best for people, and I find that people can stick to a healthier diet while doing that.
Okay. Okay.
Now, the 6 meals that you recommend, does that help you stay at a higher level or a sustainable level of energy throughout the day? Is that typically why
Yes.
you prefer that? Okay, got it.
Yes. Yep. And me being, a diabetic dietitian as well, just because I do this every day, I always think about the blood sugars too. Like,
Mhm.
again, even if you're diabetic or not, keeping your blood sugars more stable is better than highs and lows. If
Mm-hmm.
we're eating every couple of hours, we're maintaining that glucose level in our bodies. Um, and I've read some studies that helps promote more of weight loss as with the blood sugars, but I'm still diving more into that. But
Sure.
But you're saying it's keeping your body at a more balanced level instead of getting those super highs and super lows, right? Where you, because we've all, I mean, I've had those meals where you eat a huge meal and you're stuffed and you feel fine, and then like 2 hours later you're like, I feel absolutely terrible, right? Because you're
yeah,
crashing versus, portion control. I want to have a little bit smaller meal now and have a little bit smaller later, and it's going to keep your, like you said, your blood sugar, when it starts to dip, you bring it right back versus letting it come all the way down.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly, yeah.
I'm practicing this. I'm like thinking about what I'm gonna put on my list for tomorrow. Like this is what I'm eating at these times. Yeah, this is perfect.
Are there ways to track your blood sugar even if you're not a diabetic?
Is there what to doing that? Sorry, I missed what you said.
Is there a way that any person could track their blood sugar even if they're not diabetic?
I mean, you can get a glucometer and prick your finger if you wanted to.
Okay.
Um, that's how you would test it. So you would I mean, they sell them over at the counter. You just have to prick your finger, and that would tell you your blood sugar. Um, most most people don't unless they're told, like, you're in that pre-diabetic range. I know some people that will do that, but that's how you would do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I mean, I'm kind of interested in doing that. Like I've heard of some things where you can like put a patch on your arm too, and then like there's an app that tells you what your blood sugar's at. I don't know. Like maybe that's a little too much, but like I find it
That's a
kind of
little
interesting.
fancy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
That's
yeah.
for a lot of our type ones. A lot of type ones have those
Okay.
Dexcom readers.
Okay. Now, I'm not very educated here. Help me understand again the difference between type 1 and type 2.
Yeah, type 1, most, not all.
Mhm.
Most type 1s are either born with it or like develop it at the beginning stages of their lives. Not to say I haven't seen people get it later in life. And they have to be on insulin.
Mm.
Like they don't have the function in their body of insulin to bring down their glucose.
Mhm.
So they have to be on it to survive. Whereas type 2s develop it later in life, and this is typically from poor eating habits, poor exercise habits, weight gain, um, elevated A1C. These people typically are on insulin, or they're on like metformin, which is a pill. because they have to control the blood sugars. Both type 1 and type 2 test their blood sugars and give insulin if needed. And I also, just put a plug in, I work with gestational diabetics who get diabetes during their pregnancy. That's who I see a lot.
I've seen that before. I've actually one of my not my I think it was one of my cousins. I can't remember which side of the family, but had gestational diabetes when she was pregnant with I think her second.
Like, does that go away after the pregnancy, or like is it temperate?
Yes.
Is that
Yeah,
how
it's
it works?
literally while you have the baby
Interesting.
growing inside of you, like you just have absolutely like you just and I can't remember how do you typically treat that? Insulin, right?
Well, not always.
Okay.
So what I do is we start with nutrition first. The doctors will never put them on insulin unless they've had a diet teach, and that's what I do. So
Okay.
I do a full nutrition teach with them. We go over counting their carbohydrates, a diabetic controlled diet. We go through cutting out juices, cutting out pop, eating small meals, all the good stuff. They test their blood sugars throughout the pregnancy, and I see them on a weekly or 2-week basis, and we check their blood sugars. If diet doesn't work, which sometimes it doesn't because the hormones in pregnancy really just messes up with the diabetes. Sometimes people eat super healthy and their blood sugars are still high in the pregnancy.
Right.
That's typically just because they're pregnant. And then if we see that, that's when sometimes we have to introduce insulin. But some moms can manage it with their diet, which is great.
Right,
That's
like
always
make
the goal.
changes and then they get it fixed. Right. I want to come to something because you're just educating me a lot. I'm like super curious if you can't tell. Hayden has his whole list and I'm like I'm coming up, but for our listeners and for me, I mean really I'm saying but help me understand sort of what being a dietitian means to you and what it means, because I think we hear the word and you're already showing off your expertise. I mean, clearly it's eye-opening just to hear how you dissect a lot of the questions I'm asking you. I mean, going back to even the pasta question, you're like, oh, I know exactly what he's asking. But help our listeners and help me understand like what it really means and why that is, why what you do is so critical. Because I believe like just some of the little knowledge you're giving me, I'm like, I want to work. I'm like, I want to work. I want to work with Angela. Like she'd help me figure it out. Right. So I'd love to, I think that's just so valuable to kind of hear from you what that means and what that means for people listening.
As a dietitian, I'll start with what's difficult. I think what's difficult is that there's so much out in the diet culture that makes our job so important, because dietitians need to advocate for the fact that we have the education. We're not just like searching intermittent fasting on Google. Like
Right.
we have the science behind it. And I think it's super important. Our career, this job is super important because we are advocating for choosing nutrition as a line of medication.
Mm-hmm.
Nutrition is medicine. And I think we need to advocate that this is a line of treatment to start with versus starting with medication. And I think depending on where you work and what you hear, some people just want to throw medicine at patients. And I think it's important for us to advocate for these patients like, oh, can we make nutrition changes first?
Right.
Because that is key. And I think it's becoming more popular.
Uh-huh.
Meaning dietitians, and I just know this because of talking to other people that I've worked with, they never really had dietitians in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Like dietitians in hospitals don't date very far back in every different category.
Right.
Like where I work in OBGYN, the diabetes center. They first got a dietitian not even like 10 years ago, which is crazy.
Wow.
So
yeah,
it's like it started with one dietitian advocating that we are necessary. And now I feel like every day I continue to advocate that we are necessary because we do help people. And I hope people see that.
Uh-huh.
On the other end, people receiving our care hopefully see that it's very important because we can get away from medicine sometimes.
Right.
Because nutrition works.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I'm hearing like what I'm hearing. I just got chills, just so you know. Couldn't make it up. I mean, look at my goosebumps. Because what I'm hearing, I love to hear that, Angela, because I think so much. Again, you mentioned like the fad diets, right? We hear these fad diets. You can go to the lean cuisines or this or that, or the intermittent fasting, or the, there's a million out there. Go type in, different diets, and that's not all of them are sustainable, or not all of them. A lot of them are just opinionated or this or that. And what I love about what you said is like, and what I'm really hearing from you is that why it's so important and why you love it so much. The passion's coming out of you is that it's important for like sustainability and to help your body be healthier, so that maybe that medication that you would have had to go get, or that treatment that you would have had to go get that would have gotten more serious, if you're paying attention to your diet and working with an expert like yourself to get that balanced out, to do the right things, you can not only like lower your risk for those diseases or those needs for medication or stuff, but you can also increase your like quality of life by doing that. And I think that what I was hearing out of you there was, I can make people's life better and help them get away from relying so much on medications or treatments or big life altering things like that, by just making these small changes up front. And I love it.
Definitely. I'm glad you're hearing that.
I think she simplified it well. Food is medicine.
Yeah,
with
seriously,
food first
like,
before trying to throw a pill down your throat. And again, that's a little bit of an opinion there, but still, I see it way too often where people are like, "Oh, just take medicine. That should do the trick." It's like, be careful about that. But again, it's more so an opinion of mine.
well, so go ahead.
No,
I was just going to agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm very big into fitness, nutrition these days. Like sugar, that's a very big, word for some people. Like, oh, stay away from sugar. Like, what are your overall thoughts on sugar? Some people are like, don't have any sugar in your diet, but I'm pretty sure you need sugar to kind of like be energetic and get through your day. So, just what are your overall thoughts on sugar?
It's definitely important to stay away from things with added sugar. I think natural sugars are fine.
Sure.
People that stay away from fruit because it has sugar, that I'm like, no.
Silly. Yeah.
Silly.
you're like
Very
what?
silly. So, but things that have added sugar, like cookies, cakes, desserts, we shouldn't be doing that every day, but we can certainly have some. It's all about that balance.
Yep.
You could get different opinions from different dietitians on like Splenda, stevia, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Those don't bug me as much if you're doing them a couple times a week. Like I add stevia to my coffee, maybe like 2 to 3 times a week. Not a huge deal. Now, if somebody's doing added sugar like that all the time, yeah, there's some studies that say that can contribute to weight gain, which then results in sometimes cancer. So we need to be careful with the amount of sugar we're taking in, because again, that does yield weight gain, and weight gain can present a lot of diseases. But things with natural sugar, like fruit, go for it. They're great for you. They have good vitamins and minerals, and that's what we need that for a healthy diet.
Totally. Yeah. I think a lot of fruits they're high in antioxidants too, right? Which is good for the body.
Yeah. Your berries have a lot of antioxidants, like blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. Those are like your top ones that have good antioxidants.
I think Tom Brady's against eating fruit. Just a random thought as we were talking about
TB12?
Yeah, I don't think he likes to eat fruit. Yeah.
Not surprised. I'm not a big Brady fan.
Yeah, either way.
TB12 does not eat fruit. Oh, man. It's probably why I didn't win a Super Bowl last year.
Maybe.
Oh, I got a question regarding fruit. You can tell how my brain works. I latch on to stuff, Angela, if you can't tell.
You're like fruit. You're like pasta, fruit.
Yeah. Well, I've heard this. Somebody made this comment to me probably a year and a half ago.
Was it me?
I'm not going to name drop who said it, but somebody said, like, I don't eat, but like, I have a banana every single morning. Every single morning. I've like literally since I can't remember. I have to have bananas in my house. I always have a banana in the morning. Even if I don't eat anything else, I have a banana and might have like peanut butter with it. So they said to me, like, having a banana early in the morning, and I can't remember all the reasoning or like all the facts or whatever opinions they had behind it. They said your body doesn't break down bananas before 10 o'clock very well, or like 3 hours after you wake up. So I'm not just like, I want to know, like, what is that true? Like, Is that a real thing, or like, is that kind of crazy?
Pseudoscience.
I don't know the logic behind it.
Okay,
I don't know why they would
I
think
don't
that.
know, but like they're pretty convinced.
If they eat a if you eat a banana, it's a carbohydrate food. It has glucose.
Right,
So the body is going to produce insulin to bring the glucose down, just like it would if you ate a bagel.
right.
So like it's great they eat a banana every morning, but it's not, I don't think there's like
A downside to it.
a downside or like,
Why they had to eat it by
preaching to eat
10
a banana
a.m. or
every
something
morning.
I'm
like that?
telling. I was just. She said fruits. And I just remembered this conversation I had. I was like,
Ask them which Wikipedia article they were reading that from, or
literally,
which Reddit.
I was so confused because I'm like, how? Like literally, they had cut like bananas out of their morning routine, and like.
Yeah, I'm like,
They were like being really judgy about me having a banana. So I've like wanted to ask somebody about that. I'm like, I didn't even look it up. I never took the time to Google it, but I'm like, we got an expert on here, so I'm gonna ask. Like, that's not right, right? And you're like, I serve. She's going, what in the world?
What are you talking about?
God,
that's
banana
that's
routine
you.
and banana routine staying intact.
Yes.
I'm looking at all these questions that I put together. I don't want to look like I'm just going through and interviewing you, but it's going to look that way. Food
Okay.
sensitivity. What are your thoughts on that? Like, there's companies such as Everwell, I believe BioMe, and I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that, but do you recommend any of those? Do you know much about those?
Yeah, well, not, I don't really know much about those two, but I've used a pinner test before,
Okay.
which is an at-home test. Um, the at-home ones I think are fine. I mean, you send blood into a lab anyway, so it's being looked at by professionals.
Sure.
If you really think you are having food sensitivities, I think it's important just to go to your doctor because they can do it there as well. I mean, a specialist that would do it. But I think it's super important if somebody's having food sensitivities to definitely reach out instead of just like hiding it, because it can develop into something worse. Um, you think you have a sensitivity to something, and then you come to find out you have Crohn's disease or you have irritable bowel or endometriosis, things that are pretty serious. So do you definitely, don't want to ignore if you have a food sensitivity. And there's dietitians that specialize in these things because and their first line of treatment is usually elimination diets to see, okay, what's causing inflammation.
Good to know. So it sounds like talk to your doctor first before you try to do one of the over the counter test.
Yeah, see if your doctor had like if there's somebody there that they do, like some places will do those sensitivity tests, or they'll refer you out to somebody that they know that can do it. But I've done an at-home one just out of curiosity, and I think I knew I didn't have food sensitivities, and it came back and basically said that. And I was like, oh, good. Like I can tell that this is right.
Gotcha.
So that's super interesting. Like super interesting. Because food sensitivity, like you're talking about like allergic, like allergies or like bloatedness and stuff like that, like stuff that you might like lactose intolerant and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
interesting. I had a question for you, and this is more along the lines of what what you do. Obviously, this is all about who you are, what you do, but specifically, what would you say to people that like, and I'm speaking like I'm throwing people out there. I'm talking about myself, but others too. Say like, hey, we want, you know, I feel like I've got a pretty good balance, right? But so where would you take somebody like that? Like, what would the process look like? You know, if I were to come to you, Angela, and say, hey, I want to, I want to understand what my body needs because I have good days and I have bad days. I have some days where I'm here and here. What would that process look like to really like to work with you and be able to say, okay, I want to like, here's where I can get to.
Yeah. When people come to me, because I have people that do come to me like that, like, hey, I'm pretty independent, but I need a little bit of assistance seeing like, what am I doing? And is this right? What am I eating and what am I doing? So an initial assessment for me, if like you were my client, I was going to assess your needs and how you wanted to get to these goals.
Right.
Um, I always like to see how many calories somebody's taking in.
Mm.
So if somebody doesn't want to count calories, like if I have a client that's like, this isn't for me, that's fine. But I say, okay, count your calories for like 2 weeks, count
Mhm.
your macros for 2 weeks, log your food. I need to see what you're doing so I can help you. I want to see what a normal like day is like.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like my first line assessment is like, okay, what does it look like? What are they eating? What are their energy levels like? How are you sleeping? What do you do for exercise and how long? Um, if it's women, I usually ask a lot of assessment questions about hormones and like those things because that falls into the way they feel.
Right.
And so a dietitian assessment is big because that is how we
Form your
help you. And
baseline.
everybody's different.
Right.
What?
That's how you form your baseline, like where you're starting
Oh
at.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's different, and um typically when I do an assessment on like what somebody's eating, sometimes I can catch like what might be the culprit. What are they missing? Why do they feel so tired? Why are they sleeping so bad? And sometimes it is nutrition related. And I can give suggestions based on that.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like to figure out that baseline, you got to start with asking questions to your clients that you're working with. Like, what are your problems? Or like, what are you trying to do? What are your goals? Like, if I came to you saying, Angela, like, I'm trying to put on some additional muscle mass, like, that would be a very different approach than someone like, I won't use Cole as an example because you might get mad, but, a Timmy that needs
You can
to
use me as an example. I won't get
I couldn't
mad.
think of a name that wanted to lose weight. Like those are two different approaches in terms of how you would go about, working with them in terms of what types of food they need to be fueling their body with, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I have people come to me in both aspects, and they're very different approaches because they're different goals. And, you have to look at all aspects as far as nutrition and exercise. I'm a big believer that nutrition makes up like 70 to 80% of
Really?
your goals.
Okay.
And then did I say nutrition? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nutrition is 70 to 80%, and then exercise is the other. So, I wanted to make sure I didn't say it backwards.
That's like the saying,
So
abs were made in the kitchen, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Right? They say that, right? Abs are made in the kitchen. Like,
yes,
you can do
yes,
all the ab workouts you want, but if you're not eating a healthy diet and nutritionally sound, like unless you're like, I mean, there's those
Genetic freaks.
genetic freaks out there that
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
they can take their shirt off. It looks like they've been in the gym 8 days, 8 days a week, and 8 days in a week.
right.
But for the most part, yeah, I've heard that. I heard that when I was really young at my high school. Our weightlifting coach would always be like, if you want abs, they're made in the kitchen. Like, you got to eat healthy. He's like, do you eat school lunches? I'll be like, yeah. He's like, don't do it anymore. Pack your lunch.
So I think that's a perfect leadway into kind of the next topic here. Like nutrition is, yeah, very important, but there's also the physical fitness side of things. Like, do you recommend people work out a certain amount of days a week? Like, how do you tackle that approach as well? Because as you said, there is a calculation or a formula. It's not strictly just everything you put into your body. You also got to be active to some degree.
Yeah. And again, this is unique as well, depending on the person's schedule.
Mm,
But I think it's important to at least get good exercise in for at least 30 to 45 minutes a day for like 5 days.
okay.
Okay.
Take a couple rest days. Um, but like it's hard to say like this is good exercise because it depends on the goal.
Sure.
If it's somebody that wants to put the muscle mass on, okay, that 45 minutes needs to be weightlifting, not cardio.
Hmm.
And so then somebody who wants to lose weight, okay, we need to do some weightlifting to get the muscle mass on, but then we need to do high intensity cardio to burn that fat. So it really depends. The type of exercise depends, but how many times a week? I think I what I see is best is at least the work week, like 5 days a week, and then you know, um, 2 days off,
Okay.
depending on the
Well,
goals.
and like you said, it's just a matter of getting out there. Like, even if it's not, getting out and hitting 45 minutes of weight, or even if you don't, like you said, the work week. Let's say somebody's working, they know they can't do it before and after, right? Just go out for a walk at your lunch hour, right? Pack a lunch or go for a 30-minute walk around the building. Like, just get active because that's going to be better than nothing.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. The non-intentional physical activity is just as important as the intentional. So even if you go to the gym in the morning for like 45 minutes, whatever, do weightlifting, then you go to work, just because you already had exercise doesn't mean you shouldn't keep doing it. Like walk at your lunch or just get up from your desk. The non-intentional is super important too. That adds to your energy expenditure throughout the day.
Now, do you think, and I guess I'm asking this in a binary way, but does cardio impact your physique more than lifting weights? Like, is that question make sense?
It
Or
does.
yeah,
Like they both come in at differently. So
sure.
like weightlifting affects your physique because you're putting the muscle mass on.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're putting muscle mass on, you're not always going to see it if there's fat surrounding it.
Right,
Sure.
So
right.
cardio has to happen to remove that fat. A lot of us have abs. We just don't see them because we all have fat over them.
Right.
Like we
Right.
all, abs are muscle, like we have muscles, but some people don't see those fine lines, like if they want that bicep line or and they're like, I feel like I'm strong, I just don't see it. Well, you have fat around it.
Right.
But that's common, a lot of people do. Like nobody is you know bodybuilding show ready every single day.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's an important call out too. Like with Instagram and social media, sorry, my head's going a certain way here. Like we're shown like the after product, and you don't always look that way. Even different lighting and angles too.
I think that's really, I'm glad you brought that up too, because I think that's really important. A lot of people follow these bodybuilding girls that are like super lean with and like abs, and they're just very little.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can live like that. And
No.
it, I know this for a fact just from knowing people that have done it and just like me diving into that realm. They're on so low calories, and
Mm-hmm.
like it's just not a sustainable, bodybuilding weight is not a sustainable thing. Like
Right.
that's why we're not all walking. That's why we don't all walk around with abs, because we eat because we need to. We need to live. Like we're not trying to compete.
Totally.
So I
Yeah.
think that's important, that social media can interfere with people's expectations of what they should look like.
Well, it throws you off, right? And it's the highlight reel. It makes you go, man, like, well, I'm doing something wrong if I don't look like that. And like what you're not seeing is all of the work or like calorie deficits, and they might have been exhausted taking that because they haven't eaten enough food or whatever it is. Whatever it is, they've shown you what they want to show you, and that's social media, right? You show people, and it can be used in a positive way, in a negative way. It's just a matter of how you use it. But that's the hardest thing. You're exactly, Hayden. I'm just glad you brought that up too, because that's challenging for all of us, especially when you have nutrition and goals for like whatever you want yourself to look like. It's hard to not look at that and be like, how am I ever going to get there? And it's like, not everybody's going to look the same. Everybody's got a different body type.
Yeah.
Everybody's built
Right.
differently. Like your version of the best shape might never be what The Rock looks like. Okay. You might
Yeah.
never be able to physically get that kind of a body because you're not built that way. But your version of
Right.
being in shape might look different, but it's all a matter of like what works for you versus what you're trying to look like, because you'll never look like somebody else.
Oh yeah, and that's why, again, that's why my profession is so individualized, because like I don't like doing really group classes because I feel like everybody's different, and I like to really hone in on one person at a time, because everyone's built differently, and they have to have different expectations based on their height and what they should, the weight they should be at.
Right.
Totally. One other thought that I've got while we're on this topic of just fitness, you had mentioned just like each person carries a certain amount of fat with them, and I think fat gets a bad rap. Like we need to eat fats in our diet, right? At least I think so. Like, are there certain amounts that we should be consuming, like on average a day? And like I think there are different types of fats. Like, can you help educate me a little bit more around like what
Yeah,
fat is and what it does?
definitely. So you want to stay away from those, trans fats
Mm.
that most things aren't made with them anymore. A lot of companies, keep that out. But monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats are the best. Olive oil, avocado, nuts, grapeseed oil, There's healthy fats in some fish. Though that's what we want to gear towards, and staying away from like fats that come from, hydrogenated oils, butters, mayonnaise, the, like the saturated fats. There's saturated fats in cheese. Cheese is fine to eat, but you do want to be careful with that because cheeses have high saturated fat. And saturated fat is what contributes to our cholesterol.
Mm.
And so that's what we want to stay away from, and focusing more on those healthy fats. And I'm glad you said, like, we all need fat. Eating fat doesn't make you fat.
Right.
I think that's what we, yeah.
It doesn't. What make you fat is eating too many calories. Fat doesn't make you fat.
Literally, like, I was thinking that
I mean,
too.
you see all the big companies now saying like zero fat product, whatever it is. And I think sometimes that's bad, right? I mean, again, I'm in the early stages of doing my own research.
Or like that has no effect on like how much that, like, just because it has zero fat in it doesn't mean it's healthy for you. It doesn't mean like if you're on a diet, as long as it has zero fat, I can eat as much of it as I want. Like, it still might have, like you said, like 400 calories a serving. So like either way, the zero fat, it's a marketing gimmick too, right? Like, that's so funny because you're right. Fat is like, eating fat doesn't actually make you fat.
Make you fat, right? And then you wonder funny. when it says fat free, you wonder, oh, what did they put into it?
Right. What did they replace it with?
Which is another great question to ask. Like, marketing is huge for all these big food companies out there. Are there other terms or names of ingredients that we should keep an eye on that, it claims that it's got zero fat or there's zero sugar, but actually, no, there's another hidden ingredient on here that is actually just as bad, if not worse? Are there anything out there like that?
Again, kind of like the hydrogenated oils, or if it has dyes and then now on the label, most labels have transitioned to this because I think it was like 4 years ago, they changed the label. Like, when you go down and look at sugars on the label, underneath it should say added sugars. The FDA is regulating that most companies have to switch to that. Okay. That's what I suggest paying attention to. So if you were to look at a label and be like, Angela, what should I be looking at? Look at the added sugars. If it says total sugar, like 10, and then underneath it says including added sugar,
8 grams of 5. Sorry, go ahead.
That means out of the 10 sugar, 5 of it was added. So we know 5 of it was natural and 5 was added. So you don't want a product that has like 20 grams of added sugar, then they literally are adding bad sugar to it.
That makes sense.
So typically I tell people to look for products that are on the lower end of that. So that's what to look out for. And then again, on the ingredients list, less ingredients, the better.
Okay.
I always use this as an example, like peanut butter. The only ingredients your peanut butter should say is like peanuts and salt. If it starts having a whole line of stuff, there's a lot.
Right. There's a lot of extra stuff in it.
And I love
peanut butter really only needs to be peanuts and salt. It really doesn't need to be anything.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So leaning, I'm like thinking about like the peanut butter I have at home right now. Yeah, I love peanut butter. So I'm gonna come back around, and I have you had almond butter? I love almond butter too.
I think I've only had it once.
Almond butter,
it's expensive as hell.
It's so good though.
Oh, I know.
It's so good.
It's because almonds are so expensive.
Right. Okay, side note about almonds. Random fact for you. I think we've talked about this. Almonds, you know how much the reason why water is like, and I literally, this is like, you have to look it up. You can fact check with this. But they have almond farms out in California, and there's been big droughts going on, and it's literally because there's so many almond farms. All the almond farmers are using most of the water, like 90% more water or 95% more water to like per almond than it takes to grow like a whole field of corn. Like it's literally, I'm telling you, fact check me on it. It is crazy. It is crazy. I read the little thing. I'm like, that's nuts. So I went and did some digging on it, and it's the most unsustainable thing thing we grow and we consume, like almond milk and almond butter and stuff, and we all love them. They're great. They're a great snack, but they are actually completely unsustainable as far as like farming methods. They
Yeah,
take way too
they
much
sound
input.
greedy.
Yeah, they literally are. So I just thought I wanted to add that about almonds. I wanted to ask you this because I think it'd be kind of cool to hear you break it down. But you hear, from what I understand, you want to have like, and this is like a well balanced meal. You want to have like some carbs, some sugars, and some protein. So, like, if I were to come to you and say, like, what would be a good healthy breakfast, a good healthy lunch, a good healthy dinner, and then some snacks in between, like, what would you recommend?
So always recommend protein every time you eat, kind of like I was saying before.
Okay.
So an example, breakfast could be, 2 slices of whole wheat toast, which would be your healthy carbs. Maybe you spread avocado on those for healthy fats, and then like an egg or 2 eggs. That would be a good breakfast. Or another idea, like some oatmeal. Oatmeal has good fiber, it's a whole grain. And then you add some berries on top that's also a carb, just like your oatmeal. But then you would need protein. So I sometimes tell people to put like nuts on top or put peanut butter in it to get some protein,
Okay.
or eat an egg on the side with the oatmeal. Um, those are just a couple breakfast ideas. Lunch, I think a great lunch could look like a salad with chicken on it, and then maybe like a side of quinoa or rice to get
Okay.
your healthy grains. Or have like a salad and a sandwich. Don't knock a sandwich. I think a lot of people like stress out about bread. Like, not a huge deal. You can eat bread.
Right, right.
um,
You hear that a
but
lot,
like a
though.
sam
Yeah, you do hear that a lot. Like, cut the bread out. Like, you'll be good if you cut the bread out.
yeah, I'm like, but then the people that cut the bread eat like potatoes. I'm like, what are you trying to say?
Right.
Makes no sense.
Right.
So like, yeah, like a lunch could be like a salad and a sandwich. You want to make sure you're getting a lot of the food groups. You need to get the carbohydrates to keep you energized. You need to get the protein to keep you full, keep your muscles strong. Healthy fats help with brain function as well as keeping you full.
Okay.
Um, I don't preach that you have to have fruit at every meal because realistically, I would never eat fruit at dinner. It's just not a dinner thing for
Right.
me. But trying to incorporate like a fruit and a protein at snacks,
Okay.
apple and peanut butter, Greek yogurt and berries, something like that. Um, for snacks, or like rice cakes with peanut butter and some banana on it, whatever. Those are good snacks. And then dinner typically is our biggest meal, maybe like a sweet potato for a carbohydrate, and then like some mixed vegetables, piece of salmon or a piece of chicken, something like that.
You guys are
So you
making
want to
me
think
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, you want to think about your plate just like with different colors,
Mm.
as well as hitting the food groups. When I teach people how to eat at work, I use a divided plate, and I actually like have protein, carbs, and fat written on it, and I like show them like with the divided plate, and it like really helps them visualize how to get each category.
That's awesome. I like that a lot.
Well, I'm just thinking about how I'm gonna apply like those breakfast. Like, you made me really hungry when you
That's
were
what
saying
I
that.
was about to say.
But those breakfast ideas, I mean, those are simple. Like, all those meals you just literally like named are simple. They're super simple. So like, people, we come back to this one. It's like, there's no excuse for not doing that. I mean, other than you just choose not to. There's really no excuse. Like, putting
Yeah.
2 pieces of toast in a toaster or not in a toaster, spreading some butter on, like almond butter or even avocado on it that you can buy. Like, okay, so question: what do you think about? I'm sure there's like good brands and bad brands, but like pre-made like avocado spread, is that good? Is that good? Like, because I've always done like the actual avocados where you cut it open and spoon it out, and that's such a pain. But I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
I get the spread. I've never bought it before.
I mean, the spread is fine, but I would look at the ingredients to see what they add in it.
Okay.
Just like the peanut butter thing I said before, an avocado spread shouldn't have a lot of stuff in it because it doesn't need to.
Right.
It should have like salt, pepper, onion, whatever. I've bought spread before and I don't like it as much as the real deal. That's just my opinion. I think I bought the Costco spread one time and I thought it was too salty and it almost tasted fake. Like, I'd rather have the real deal, but if that's quick for you, a question like that, if my client asked me that, I would say if it's more convenient for you to do that and it's going to help you stay on track on your diet, then do it.
Right. Like even if it's not it has maybe something that's not great in it, it's still better than the alternative of either like not eating or, having a Pop-Tart or having a toaster strudel. Like it's still moving you in the right direction.
Wow, Pop-Tarts are so good. I haven't had one since high
Are
school.
you seriously? You're not kidding. What's your favorite Pop-Tart? Now we're talking about Pop-Tarts.
So the regular, like
The
cinnamon
the brown cinnamon,
or the brown sugar
the
cinnamon.
brown sugar. Yeah, those are so good.
The key is that you have to microwave it for like 10 seconds.
I was about to say, do you heat it up or do you eat it cold? Okay.
Oh, it's got to be heated up for me.
You want to know the trick? Here's the trick. You put them in the toaster, you toast them, and then you take a little bit of butter and you put butter on the top and you let it melt.
That sounds so good.
I'm telling you, it's so good. When I was in high school, I used to buy Pop-Tarts I'd have them in my last period. So I'd bring my lunch and then I'd buy the brown sugar Pop-Tarts and their little thing, and I'd eat them in Mr. Elliott's class. I remember he'd get so mad at me because he'd be like, "No eating in my class." He's like, "Can't you wait?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And then I'd open them. I was like Napoleon Dynamite. I was pulling them out of my backpack and I was eating my Pop-Tarts.
That's too funny.
Pop-Tarts were definitely a high school thing. I ate them in high school too.
They were just so good. There's so many different flavors now. My daughter likes them, and we don't ever have Pop-Tarts in the house. But every now and then, we'll be out somewhere, she'll see them. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. She kind of need a snack, Dad, and I'm like, yeah. And we go to over where the Pop-Tarts are, and even in a Speedway, you've got 17 different kinds, and I'm like, there's cookie crumble Pop-Tarts, there's chocolate chip Pop-Tarts. I'm like, pick the strawberry or the brown sugar, okay? We're not even getting into those. Pick those two. The original, the OG Pop-Tarts.
It sounds like the Oreos now that they have 20 different flavors.
You know what my daughter thought would be fun? I know we're totally on off topic here, but she brought me the other day, she goes, I have an 8-year-old, Angela, so an 8-year-old and a 6-month-old. And yeah, my beautiful, sweet, Ava's the 8-year-old, Blake's a little 6-month-old. They're my world. I love them to death. I have an amazing wife too, so I'm gonna throw her there. She's amazing too.
She's gonna be mad at you.
They're all great. They're all great. But the other day, she's like, she wanted for April Fools, right? So she's like, Dad, I have a really good April Fool's joke, and I'm like, okay, tell me what it is, right? I'm like, how good could this be? She goes, so I have an idea. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take an Oreo. And I'm going to open it up. And I'm like, I know exactly where she's going with this. We all know this, right? She's like, I'm going to open it up and I'm going to get the inside out. And then I'm going to put toothpaste in it. And I'm going to close it back up. And I'm going to give it to this kid. I can't remember the kid's name in my class, but he is the jokester. She's like, so I'm going to tell him at lunch one day that I don't want my Oreos and let him have them. And I was like, what would be even better, Ava, is if you put 3 Oreos in there and then you give them all to him. So he might get one first if he's a little hesitant, and he might be like, oh, these are good. And he really, really, really has no idea that he's getting toothpaste. So she didn't end up doing it because my wife didn't approve of it. But I was thinking back, we all know that joke. And I was just like, it was just so funny. Yeah. It was so funny. Yeah. So we just went from Pop-Tarts to Oreo jokes.
Oreos, Pop-Tarts, those are all so good. I think as you grow,
it's all about the balance.
Totally. I think though, as you grow up, your relationship, or at least I'm speaking from my perspective, your relationship with food kind of changes, hopefully in a good way. Because when you're young, you don't really care, or you don't know what you don't know, and you just put anything into your body because you're hungry. At least that's how I was. But as I started to get out of school, I started to, really focus on, what am I really putting into my body? How am I going to manage sustainable levels of energy versus, just eating Pop-Tarts or having a bowl of ice cream whenever I felt like it. Like you said, that's fine to have now and then, but I shouldn't make that a regular thing.
Exactly. And I feel like this does work for clients too. The healthier you eat, when you do give yourself that bowl of ice cream and stuff, it satisfies you. You don't need to overindulge. That's why I tell people you don't need to cut that stuff out. If you give yourself a healthy amount, that should be plenty to satisfy what you need.
Totally.
Yeah, treat yourself every once in a while.
Exactly. I might even have ice cream tonight after this.
I'm honestly thinking. I was thinking about the moose tracks in my fridge. I'm now so
Oh,
hungry. I'm thinking about this. I'm like, you've had moose tracks. I saw your face when I said that. You've had moose tracks.
we have a Reds one in our freezer right now, and it has like the Cincinnati Reds, and it has peanut butter chunks and like chocolate and
Oh,
like swirls. Oh my God. I'm like, Josh bought it, and I was like, why did you do that? You don't need it. You bought a whole tub. I'm like, we don't need it.
Except for you're like afterwards. That's what I'm hitting up.
that sounds so good right now. You
I'm
guys-
gonna
I know,
watch
I'm like,
some
we don't need
Bridger.
it.
I'm gonna watch some Bridgerton when I get home and have a bowl of ice cream. Have you seen that show?
No, I haven't.
Okay, highly recommend it.
We'll save it for another episode.
Yeah, highly recommend it. Side note, I think I love it. I love it. My wife and I love it.
I love good recommendations.
Yeah, it's a good couple watch. So you and your fiance would love it.
So I say we touch on one more topic because I know we're getting a little bit late here, and then we can wrap things up. But I know, Angela, you kind of have a side business. Like you got a side hustle, which is awesome. Kudos to you. What would you recommend, or what advice would you give to someone that's trying to start a side hustle? Is my question. Yeah.
It sounded like you had more.
I know.
to-
I
it sounded
stopped. I'm like, shit. Where am I going with this? That's my question. Spit it out, buddy.
The mind is racing.
Yes.
For anybody who wants to start a side hustle, just you need to remember that it's not going to be easy
Mm.
at first, and there's a lot of expenses and things that go into getting it started. But once you get your groove, it's really worth it if it's something that you enjoy and love. Promoting yourself is a huge thing as well, and I'm still working on that.
Mm.
I think Hayden and I talked about this a little bit. It's like being on Instagram all the time and on social media really helps grow your business, but I don't like being on my phone all the time. So
Right.
it's so hard. Like some days I don't feel like posting on my food Instagram, but I'm like, okay, is that going to get me traction? Is that going to get me clients? Whereas some of these influencers are always on their phone. So I think that's a little bit of a struggle for me.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there's always the old fashioned way too, word of mouth, spreading your knowledge of people you know to help someone grow their business. It definitely, I mean, I've only had my side hustle for a year. I did really well, but there were definitely some challenges.
Angela's
And there's
killing it,
still-
by the way, guys. I needed
Well,
to-
I'm kind of okay. So I feel like we haven't talked about her side hustle. And so can you highlight what your side hustle is, where our listeners can find you? Hashtag
Yeah.
side note where I can find you. I know where I can find you and track you down.
Where can I find you?
Yeah.
My Instagram is Fueled with Ange, and then I also have a website, fueledwithange.com. And that's where those are my two platforms. I don't do much on Facebook or anything like that, but Instagram and my website. The services I provide are just one-on-one coaching, whether it's weight loss, weight gain, all that stuff. I also do individual sessions, like virtual sessions. So I've had clients come to me like, I need to lower my cholesterol. I just want to do a couple sessions. I'm like, what do I need to eat? Perfect. We do like virtual sessions like this and go over like just their individual needs, just as if they were in a doctor's office with me. We just do it virtual.
Right.
So I offer that. I also offer meal plans, custom meal plans, generic meal plans, depending based on the person's desires and food likes, dislikes. I take that in consideration. And I can calculate like macronutrients for them as well. That's usually for my people that don't want to do the full on coaching because it's a big commitment. Some people are like, I'm pretty independent. I just want a meal plan. I'm like, sure.
Right.
So I do
Right.
that as well.
That's awesome.
So,
That is so cool. I mean, it's something you're passionate about, and it sounds like you're just. I love that you're an entrepreneur. I mean, you're an entrepreneur. Like in your way, you've taken what you're passionate about and you've started your own business that's about helping others and putting yourself out there. And yes, you're so spot on. Getting like again, I'm a very Hayden and I have talked about this. I'm very outgoing, right? I'm very much an extrovert, but I'm always an extrovert in like these settings, right? Like settings where I'm talking to people or I'm like going out and meeting with clients or going and meeting with investors or that's been my, I go to a bar or a party or anywhere and work the room. And I enjoy that. Right. But social media was like, I mean, all I've ever posted was pictures of my daughters and my wife. Like, that's it. Like,
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
though.
but like, you go through my social media, it's like, literally, there's people that posted photos of me and stuff. But like, you look at my posts, for the past 9 years, it's like Ava, Amanda, me, Ava riding a horse, like Blake, happy anniversary, right? And now transitioning to like even this venture too, where it's like, okay, we're trying to engage with a clientele in a base that's outside of that comfort zone, that's outside of like, now I can't just like go and call people or meet them. I got to like get them to communicate with me on a medium that they like. And I'm learning a lot too. I think we both are, but I can totally relate to that. And again, like being on your phone all the time, it's like, you don't want to be. It's like, and so it's like that balance. I was like, okay, if I'm going to be on, I'm going to create some content. I'm going to get off. Yeah, it's challenging. So I just kudos, so pumped that you're doing it. And everybody that's listening, Fueled by Angela, Fueled by Ange, Fueled by Ange.
Fueled with Ange.
Fueled with Ange.
Come on now.
Okay.
Well, I'm being fueled by Ange right now, okay? I'm getting more energetic.
Look at that. Nice save.
Yeah.
Nice save.
Fueled with Ange, fueledwithange.com. And she sounds like she's going to get one sign up right here from me, and probably plenty more to come.
I also have an online cookbook. It's an ebook and it's on my website. It's very affordable. It's downloadable to iPad, Kindle. It's not hardback at this time. I'm not that fancy, but it's like you could download it right to your iPad or whatever, and it has a ton of recipes. So if anybody wants to purchase, it's on my website, and I think you'll really like all the recipes I came up with. Like, they're all me.
No.
Years and years to do. So
I'm signing up.
I'm telling you, Fueled with Ange is going big time.
It already is, and man. Have you checked out her page? It's grown by the day.
We had Angela on our show before she was on Oprah, okay? Like, before she got to Oprah, she was with us.
That's right.
I hope.
So one last kind of like career-related question or personal question is, we're all on different journeys in life. We all have different goals, but what advice would you give to your younger self, and what advice would you give to your future self?
To my younger self, I would tell myself not to be so hard on myself in the earlier years.
Yeah.
That things will come together. And, if you have your heart set on wanting to do something, you have to roll with the punches that lead up to that moment. I have worked several nutrition related jobs, volunteers that I absolutely hated. And and the whole time I was like, it's going to get me to my career. I just have to do it to get experience. Just do it. And sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do to get to where you want to be. And I'm a full believer of that. There's times I wanted to quit, but I didn't. And that got me to where I am today. And so, to my future self, I just hope that I keep powering through and stay as dedicated to what I do now and, in the future.
I love that message.
I
Great
mean,
story.
come on, that's like a knowledge bomb right there. That's like a words of wisdom from somebody that's got a lot of wisdom at a young age. Like, that is unbelievable, because you are so right. Right? There's so many times in life where it's just like, you just got to do stuff that sucks. Like, you got to do stuff. Yeah. Like, if you want to get there, like, you might have to grind through like this next 3 years of doing something you might not like just to get, and you'll get there. But like, it's the people that stop halfway through or say, well, I'm just not happy. And it's like, well, like, what are you working towards? Right. And it's putting it in perspective. So I just love that.
And there's also so many people that are so close to breaking that threshold of being, big time or whatever their definition of. And it's like, just keep going. You never know when that next big, client's going to come your way, or that next big break. So it's like, just gotta.
You can't predict the inflection point. There's always an inflection point. There's always a turning point. And I think you'll across the board, I'm sure you can say this. It's like, you didn't know when it was going to happen when it happened. Like, you were hoping it was going to happen, but all of a sudden, like, it happened. Right? You couldn't have guessed that. You didn't know, and then you look back on it and go, "Wow, that was great." But like that. I'm glad I waited. I'm glad I pushed through it, because all of a sudden it clicked. So I just love that.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
hyped up.
I
I'm like
agree.
more energetic as this conversation's going
That's
on.
typically how it goes for you.
I know. I get really, really excited and engaged.
I mean,
I love it. I'm glad you're excited, just as excited as I am talking about it. So
totally. I think there's a possibility that your ebook or that might grow to 10,000 overnight with all the listeners out there. You never know.
I hope so. I hope so. I think people will really enjoy it, and it's fun that I've worked on it for so long, and I finally have it out there, and I think people will enjoy all the variety of recipes I have in the book. So I hope people like
What's
it.
it called?
Have your cake and eat it too.
Oh, that's such an awesome title,
Dude, that's
too.
like that's a
I can't wait
bestseller.
to
That's a
get
New
this.
York bestseller.
Hell yeah, it is.
I love it. Have your cake and eat it. Oh man.
Great title.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy it tonight.
I love it.
Do you have any more questions, or do you want to wrap up with some quick hitters?
I say we wrap with some quick hitters because this has been a journey.
I know
feel
Angela's
like
probably like,
we're
come on,
wearing
guys. I'm
Angela
trying to eat my ice cream and settle down here. It's getting late,
know
so
what?
really appreciate it.
At least we're not Joe Rogan podcast where we have
You'd have another hour and a half.
at least like minimum. And by the end of his episodes, he's like, just push through it, guys. He like tells his guests.
Intermission.
Yeah, he's like, this is a marathon. Just push through it. he like makes people stay on for like 3.5 hours. And
Oh
people,
my god.
dude, he gets like
I
11
feel like-
million. He gets like 11 million downloads per episode, but it's literally like I was listening to one with Ron White. We don't know how to say goodbye, by the way. If you haven't noticed that, we don't know how to end episodes. But he was at with Ron White, and Ron White goes, I'm so tired. He goes, we got another hour and a half. Suck it up.
We're not going to do that to you, Angela.
No. We're over intermission.
So I'll start. Go ahead. Sorry, Angela.
I was gonna say if we keep going too long, I might have to pause and go get some ice cream. And we can
There you go. Then we can go all night, right? Get that sugar rush in. So first question here. What is your favorite thing to eat? And I think you kind of touched on this, but what's your go-to?
My favorite like indulge thing, or just like my go-to
Any-
healthier thing.
Anything. It can be whatever you want.
I love chicken wings.
Heck yeah.
And the other night we made them in the air fryer. And so I try to find healthier ways to make them. I wouldn't say it's our go-to though. Like we don't do it a ton.
Okay.
But I crave them. Like I love hot buffalo wings.
Yes, me too. So
that's
good.
my favorite. Our biggest go-to though, I would say, for meals are a lot of like taco bowls, whether they're chicken or beef tacos, and salads, or like tonight I did salmon tacos.
Ooh,
Yeah.
love it. Delicious.
That's good too.
I'm thinking
What
of
do you
like,
guys like?
what do I like? Well, what do we like?
Yeah, what do you like?
Easy. I like goulash is my favorite food.
What? I've never heard of that.
It's it's called goulash. My grandpa made it for me, like he's been making it our whole lives. So my mom started making it for me, and it's like just vegetables like beans, like green beans, black beans,
Oh.
hamburger meat. It's got like, I mean, honestly, don't even like my mom still always makes it for me. I'll be like, Mom, can I come pick up like, will you make me goulash? She'll make us a big pot of it. I'll bring it home. But it's like just a jumble of stuff in a big
Yeah.
stew pot, and it is so good. I'll make some for you.
I thought you just made that up.
No, well, my mom will make it for you. I won't make it for you because I don't know how to make it.
I have heard of it. My dad used to eat it growing up.
It's
too.
so. I'm telling you, that is my my favorite food I'll ever eat. Yeah.
For me, I would say peanut butter and jelly. I just crave that like all the time. I don't know why, but I do.
Have you ever made your own jam?
I have not. But I would
Really
never
quick, I
rule
gotta
it out.
tell you. You just put like heat up a saucepan and put strawberries or berries in there with a little bit of like honey and water, and then you add chia seeds, which like soaks it up and thickens it, and then you put it in the fridge and it spreads on, and it's all natural. It's so good.
That sounds so good. I might have to try it this week and try making it. How long does it typically take?
Sounds so good.
To make, like 10 minutes.
Really? Oh, okay.
I make a big batch, but I put it in a jar, and then like when I want to make peanut butter and jelly or whatever, it's more of like a jam consistency. I'll just take it out of the jar and put it on It lasts, I would say, a couple weeks in the fridge, but then it starts to brown if you wait too long. So I wouldn't make too
I'm
much.
totally going to try that. My problem is I hate carving out the time to cook. I mean, I cook from time to time, but it's just like, oh, I got to carve out another hour into my
Well,
work
you're
day.
also like a
Yeah.
bachelor and you live by yourself.
Yeah.
Like you could just, like it's. I don't blame you, right? Like it's like I can make food here. I can just run out and get food, right?
Right,
Go get
right.
something healthy. Like for me, it's like when I have to go out for food, we're feeding four of us. You know what I mean? So I'm like a little bit more conscious. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm like, okay, then we're gonna make some food at home. Like, what's our grocery? Okay, I got another one, another quick hitter for you, Angela. Skyline or Gold Star?
Skyline.
Heck yeah. There is a wrong answer there. and
There
that
is.
would be
There is a
Gold
wrong
Star.
answer.
Love it. Do you prefer cardio or weights?
Weights.
Weights. Okay. All right.
Samesies.
Sweet or sour?
Sour.
Sour. All right. I love Sour Patch Kids, by the way. So good.
So do we. We are like Josh and I love sour candies. Like, oh my god, we could crush the sour watermelons are even better than the kids, the Sour Patch Kids.
I just want to go eat everything right now.
I know. I'm so hungry.
Me too.
Okay. Beach or lake? Like, but not a lake with a beach.
What?
I just want to clarify that.
Beach.
Okay. Well, some lakes have
No,
like,
you're right.
like if you were to say Lake Michigan does have a beach. I was trying to clarify like it should have been freshwater or saltwater.
Okay.
Whatever.
All
Okay,
right.
she got it. She said beach either way.
Day or night?
Day.
Day. Okay. Get
Uh,
behind that.
I don't have any more quick hitters I can think of. I could probably come up with some.
This is going to be specific to our alma mater. So go Dayton Flyers. Do you prefer a day party or an evening out at Timothy's?
Oh, day party.
Heck yeah.
For sure.
Heck yeah. Some good times during the day, that's for sure.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes you can't really make it into the evening, but we won't go there.
That was a tough time.
Yes. Yes. Totally.
Nowadays I couldn't do that.
No, not at all. Well, hey, I say we wrap things up with that. Want to once again thank Angela for coming on the show today. We learned so much, and there's still so much more to learn. Would love to have you back sometime down the road. But once
Yeah.
again, thank you for coming on. Want to make sure we plug all of your stuff once more. So you can find Angela. Let's see if I remembered things correctly.
Fueled with Ange.
Fueled with Ange
Uh-huh.
is the Instagram
And
handle.
fueledwithange.com.
Uh-huh.
And she also you can order her ebook, How to Have Your Cake and Eat It Too.
Damn, you are good.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's saving me over here because I was kind of looking at him to save my ass.
I'm like, yeah, I picked
You're
up.
like,
That's because I'm about to go add all this stuff. I'm like literally about to track it all down and blast it. Are you kidding me? So again, Fueled with Ange, at Fueled with Ange, fueledwithange.com. Have your cake and eat it too. And again, it sounds like Angela, she offers consultant services for just meal planning, for nutritional planning, for weight loss, weight gain. I mean, kind of a goal setting. It sounds to me a lot like you cater to individual needs, which is super cool. I think for our listeners out there that we've got across the country, you guys, she can do it virtual. She can do it over Zoom and stuff like that, which is super, super neat. And she's been rocking and rolling. Obviously dropped a ton of knowledge on us today, Angela. So we super appreciate it. This has been again, I got more energetic as I came in here a little bit tired, which is I'm a pretty energetic guy, but like I just went, yeah, maybe my blood sugar went, yeah.
I feel smarter and healthier
yeah,
after.
your glucose went up and you went,
Yeah. I'm like, babe, I'm tired. I'm going like, honey, I'm tired. I got all my
love it.
chores
I
done. I got
appreciate
all my honeydew list done already before I came because I was like, I know I'm gonna be beat, and I know that I try to not. I don't want to try to get away with stuff. Like if I say I'm gonna do something, I got to do it.
So we weren't kidding when we said we don't know how to sign off. So
if you haven't noticed,
just tell us to shut up. I'm going to bed.
I just want to put a plug. Thank you for having me. This is super fun. I love talking about what I do, but just like, talking with you guys are super fun. And I hope that you get a lot of listeners on your podcast because this is so awesome. And I think it's cool to hear what everyone's doing and just pump each other up. It's important to do that. And so I feel very motivated after talking to you guys, and this was really fun. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks again, Angela, and we'll be in touch. Have a great evening, everyone, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
See ya.
Thanks.
That sounds good. See you guys.
Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.